So I've got some pretty gigantic news today, and I'm going to get into that. But before I do, there's something I want to show you. Let's go. So what do you see down here on the ground? Probably not much, right? Some old mossy bricks, a couple of dried up leaves, some grass and some dirt. Not much to write home about. But let me rephrase the question. What don't you see? And the answer, my friends, is that you don't see an ankle-deep puddle of rainwater. Now, I've mentioned this in previous videos, but we do have a bit of a drainage problem here in the property. Whenever it rains, and it does rain a fair amount here, water tends to collect here on the front porch into a giant puddle. And the thing about that puddle is that it drains directly into our crawl space. Now, there is a sump pump in the crawl space. It kicks the water out through this little hose every time it fills up. But the idea of a babbling brook underneath the floorboards every time it rains is, frankly, a little bit uncomfortable. So the sun came out about half an hour ago, but all of today it was raining. Most of last night it was raining as well. And yet there's no puddle here. Why is that? I think the reason is because I might have fixed the problem. You see, most of the runoff water was coming from three sources: the kitchen downspout, the mudroom downspout, and the carport. In the previous video, I just had the 2 barrels set up by the kitchen. Well, now, obviously, I've got all 4 barrels set out, collecting from both of these downspouts, in addition to this gutter that I've hung from the carport. So instead of all the rain collecting down next to the house, into the front porch, it's either collected by the barrels or it goes down into the driveway and away from the house. And it hasn't taken long for these barrels to fill up. Both of these intake barrels are completely topped off. That's 55 gallons each, or around 450 pounds of water. Not only do I get a dry basement, I also get a lot of free water. I've already got over 100 gallons that I've collected in less than a day. That's water that I can use for the chickens, that's water that I can use for the garden, and it's all for free. But as exciting as rain barrels are, that's not the big news. Before I get into it too deep, let me tell you a little bit about our property here. We all told we have a little bit under 4 acres. It's a nice mix of pasture and woods. It's a great start for our homestead. But that 4 acres is surrounded by roughly 6 acres of even more pasture and woods. 6 acres that we really love. Now, shortly after we bought our property, around 3 months ago or so, the surrounding property, the 6 acres surrounding our property, went up for sale. Now, suffice it to say, Holly and I were in no position to make a purchase to buy that 6 acres. But we did get to thinking, man, how great would it be if somebody that we know or loved was able to buy that 6 acres? So that actually leads me to my news, to our announcement. After the 6 acre property went up for sale, my parents, who live here in the Knoxville area, put an offer on that property, and their offer was accepted. So what exactly does this mean? My parents are going to be my neighbors, right? Well, yes, there is that. But there's also the fact that instead of the 4 acres that we have, my parents and I are going to jointly have 10 acres of land that we're able to work together as a family. The idea of living right next door to your parents might be kind of a weird one to some people, but when you think about the fact that there's just me and Holly and my mom and dad, but we're on 10 acres of land, it actually doesn't seem that bad. Add to the fact we can take on projects together. My dad is already talking about helping me with the barn. My mom is talking about getting goats. We're gonna split eggs. We're gonna work on a garden and crops together. We've just doubled our manpower, essentially. Now, you might be wondering where exactly my parents are gonna live once they move onto the property. Well, there is a house here on this 6-acre property. It's been unoccupied for some time now and frankly needs quite a bit of TLC. There's broken windows, the gutters are in disrepair, some of the siding is busted. But despite all of that, there's a lot of things going for this old house. The roof is fairly new, the electricity works, the plumbing works, the gas works. All of the things that you need to make an abode livable work. So my parents' plan is fairly simple. In the next few weeks, they're going to fix this house up to make it livable for once they move out of their current living situation, their current house. And they're going to move in here and live here for the winter, fix it up as much as possible. Now, are they going to keep it or are they going to build a new house on this property? They haven't decided yet. If they like this house that came with the property and they're able to fix it up enough, they may just decide to stay here. Then again, there's 6 acres of beautiful property around here that would be perfect for a new build. Either way, they're setting themselves up for quite an adventure, which I hope to capture here on the channel. Now, I'll show you the interior of this house here in one of the next few videos, but before I do that, I just want to quickly kind of take you around some of these 6 acres to give you a feel for what we're adding to our family homestead. Now, I'm not sure exactly where the property line is back here, but it doesn't really matter because we're sharing it. One of the first things that we're picking up here is an additional 2 acres or so of woods, of timber. Now, woods are cool. Forest is great. I love woods. I love forest. I love all the extra timber and wood and the things that we can do with it. However, as a homesteader, one of the things I'm most excited about is pasture. With this extra property, we're actually picking up quite a bit of pasture. It's one of my favorite aspects of the land back here is just kind of this untouched pasture that we've got. Although I've always wanted to get sheep and pigs on our 4 acres, with this 10 acres and these additional pastures, suddenly the idea of a cow doesn't seem so far-fetched. Of course, there's other things that we can do on this land other than just raise animals. If we wanted to build like a little mini cabin back here or something, that's an option that we would have. Run 4-wheelers around the place, I don't know. But right now my big thing is thinking about how we can make this land sustainable, how we can use it to increase our self-sufficiency. I know that's a subject that I talked about in the last video, and with the uncertainty in our world right now, self-sufficiency seems like a sure bet to me. So there's another little strip of woods back here, but if you keep walking, you'll find that there's yet another pasture back here. One that's a little bit smaller and a little bit more hidden. I'd say it's maybe 1.5 acres total, but yet more opportunity for animals and other things. So that's the news, guys, and it's really exciting. Not only are my parents moving in next door, but we're going to have essentially a 10-acre family homestead. I know that's not huge when you consider a lot of farming operations, but for 2 families to produce enough food to feed themselves, I think that's a great start. So there you have it, guys. Stay tuned for some really exciting things ahead, and until next time.